Today we are going to look at, we are going to continue from where we left just in our previous session on GeoServer. And we are also going to do some few operations also on QGIS. And we are going to introduce something else. I'm sure you are seeing a new term, which is open layers. So, yeah, and if you look at this slide, we have some 3 logos. So this is the logo for GeoServer. We've been using QGIS since the beginning. So this Q is for the QGIS, and this is open layers. So yeah, let's just do a quick recap of the things that we looked at yesterday. We looked at, we were able to install GeoServer, and we were also able to configure workspaces, vector and raster stores, and we were also able to add some layers and also do some layer previews. Then we were also able to look at tiling of layers. So the tiling and the GWC, the GeoWeb cache, go hand in hand. And we are also able to look at how to configure to optimize GeoServer using the memory, commands inside the startup file. So that's what we are calling the garbage collection. And then we were also able to do some, towards the end, we were able to look at the web map service operations, though we only looked at one, whereby we were changing the height and the width of the output. Okay. So today we are going to proceed with the web map service operations. We did one yesterday, but we will continue from there. And then we shall also look at the web feature service operations. And we will, for the data, we will be using the data that we were using previously. So there is also a download link that I've shared through the chats. So if you look at the downloads, it contains some style layers that are zipped shapefiles. And then it also contains something else, which is the Notepad++. It is an editor. It is an open source editor. At least this time around, we have considered also the ones who are using the 32-bit installer. So you notice that there's the 32-bit installer and the 64-bit installer. To distinguish those installers, the installer for 64 has x64 within its name. So, and also there's a text file. So that text file that is in the shared folder consists of some of the operations that we are going to use for both WMS, Web Map Service, and the Web Feature Service, WFS. So we shall, after looking at the operations, we will be looking at the importing and applying QGIS styles in GeoServer. So that will be our second task. And then we shall also do some introduction to open layers. And we will, that's why I actually want you to install that Notepad++, because we will we'll create some open layer web application, okay, together. And then we will also try and visualize one layer that resides, since I believe we all have our layers in the GeoServer, we will use those layers and we will try to display this layer in an open layers web map, okay? So that will conclude our objectives for today. Yeah, so we've been looking at this WMS and talking about it. And we saw that the WMS is an interface for requesting geospatial in the form of map images. You request the WMS and the output that you get usually comes in the form of an image. Then we can also do multiple requests. You can request different layers, for example, and get an output for those different layers, multiple layers. So that is something that you can also do with the WMS operations. You're going to look at it. And then the images requested can be overlaid on top of one another. That is also something else with the WMS, or with the web map service. And let's look at briefly look at these WMS operations, specifically for GeoServer. So we have an operation that we had also looked at yesterday. However, we just looked at it briefly, and it is called the get capabilities. So the get capabilities, basically what it does is that it retrieves the service metadata. What service does that GeoServer offer? Okay, what does it contain? Does it offer the WMS? Does it offer WFS or what have you? So it retrieves the service metadata and supported operations. So these are the operations that we are going to look at. And then it gives some output like the parameters and a list of available layers. So what layers are in your GeoServer? See, those are the things that these requests does. This operation, it requests, it asks what layers are in this GeoServer, how can I access these layers? So that all that information is given in an output. And the other operation is what you call the get map. So the get map actually is one of the most used operation. When you load your GeoServer layers in QGIS, for example, whatever is displayed, if you load your layers as WMS, you normally see a map, a map of some polygons or some lines or whatever it is that you have opened for example, in your QGIS desktop. So whatever you are seeing is in the form of an image. So this get map is the one that shows, it retrieves the map of a specified area and the content in an image. So this is the get map is one of the most used operations. Then we have the get feature info. The get feature info, it gets the underlying data, geometry, attribute values. Now, because we are dealing with an image, note that the attribute values are usually for a pixel in the map somewhere. So when you maybe click your map, which is an image, you have clicked on a particular pixel. That particular pixel has some coordinates. So that is what it outputs is what is under the get feature info. Then we have describe layer. So describe layer is retrieves retrieval of additional information from layer, and this can be via web feature service and web coverage service. So we shall be looking at this shortly. Then we have what you call the get legend graphic. So this retrieves the generated legend of a map. So when you're designing a map in your desktop, I believe in some sessions previously, you created a map on your desktop. There is what you call the map key, or the legend. So this one kind of fetches the legend through the web using the WMS. And then finally, we have what you call exceptions. So when you try and fetch any of these services, and probably you have not typed in a parameter, a correct parameter, or you have mistyped something, then there tends to be an error. So there's an operation, if you add, it is going to sort of give you what you would call a user-friendly error. It won't just show you some technical jargon. At least it's going to, when an exception occurs, it's going to show you. Or alternatively, you can do a request and then there's an error in the URL or in your request. So many a times you may find that it will only display an empty page. So you see that way you cannot know if there is a problem. So that is the purpose for these exceptions. So let us look at, so the get capabilities, as I have mentioned, it is, there's one of the operations which is service. So what service are you requesting? So basically we have two services here, web map service and web feature service. That is a parent. I think of it as a parent. It is mandatory and denotes the service in question. And in this case, since we are talking about the WMS, that should be the service. And you can also be referring to the text document that you have downloaded with the data. You'll notice that in some of those, you'll see there's something like service is equals to W, or request is equals to WMS. Then we have the version. So currently the GeoServer that we installed supports the WMS versions 1 all the way up to 1.3.0. Okay. So also the version is mandatory. You must specify the version of the WMS in your request. Then we also have the requests operation. So the request operation is also mandatory. And in this case, the request is what you call that we are referring to the get capabilities. That is a type of request that we are doing. So this is an example of the get capabilities URL, which is also in the text document that I've shared with you guys. So we have this link, which starts with an HTTP, and then a colon and 2 slashes, and of course the URL to our GeoServer. So that the first line consists of the URL to our GeoServer. And GeoServers that were being used quite some time back, they initially never had this OWS. They were using, like now if you're dealing with WMS, they were using WMS in the place of OWS in the first line. So whenever you encounter a question mark in a URL, this means it is some kind of a HTTP request, okay? In any URL that you are going to see, even it's not limited to these get capabilities. Many a times you may be accessing some website or something and you'll see a question mark somewhere. So this means that it is a HTTP request. It is requesting for something. Then we have the service. The service type is what I was saying that it is mandatory. It is WMS, Web Map Service. And then you'll notice that we have an and or an ampersand kind of a character after the WMS. So this is like a connector. All these lines that you are seeing, the 4 lines, actually 1 line. They are not 4 lines like in these are all these lines, you paste them in your browser. You know, they are the address bar, they are not arranged in 4 different lines. What I've done is that I've just put them in separate lines so that it can be easier to explain. So that ampersand or the and symbol, it is like a connector. So it connects like the WMS to version is equals. So if you do not put that and, then your URL or your request will be in error, okay? It's part of these ampersand characters are part of the URL. And then we have the version number. So in this case, I was testing with version 1.3.0. And then I also have the requests. What are we requesting? You know, we are requesting to get the capabilities of that particular GeoServer. And get capabilities results to a lot of information. You know, the layers, your services that you are using, and all that. So we also have a screenshot below here, and the screenshot is for there's a tool that I was talking about called the Advanced REST Client. So if you are using Google Chrome like myself, you can install it. But I also think there's an installer for Windows. So this is a screenshot. We will be using it maybe in our demo session because I will show you, it arranges, you see, if you give somebody the URL on the top, they may not understand what this URL means, okay? But this REST client, it displays all these parameters like the service, the WMS, it arranges them in a bit of a user-friendly manner. And even the outputs that we are going to get from it, especially because we may be getting outputs in JSON, outputs in XML, So if you get such outputs and you just, if you view it in a text format, it does not really look very nice. It's not user friendly. So that's why we are using this advanced REST client. So that is the get capabilities. The output of get capabilities, as I had mentioned, it is an XML. It returns an XML that looks like this. And one thing maybe you can notice that the first line here is it declares the XML. So this is an XML document. There's XML version 1.0 up there, and then coding. So this is an XML document. Then we have the WMS capabilities. It shows the version up here, which is 1.3.0. We have the update sequence 371. We have the, I don't know what this XSI or the schema location. This, I think it's the open standard, the open compliance. It's saying opengis.net/WMS. I think it's the link to that standard for WMS. And then it also has the URL, localhost geoserver, the URL for the schema. And then we start with the service. So this service, after the WMS part, we have this service. So the service has, normally we refer to them as parents and children. So the service contains a number of children. And as you can see, it is like collapsed, and then it has like a white space. It has a space, or it is indented. So the indented children are name, title, and abstract. So if you look at the name, it sets the name as WMS. The title is GeoServer Web Map Service. The abstract states a compliant implementation of WMS plus most of the SLD extension dynamic styling. It also states that you can also generate PDF, SVG, KML, and GeoRSS. So that is on the abstract. Then if you look at the keyword lists, you notice that we have several keywords. We have WFS, WMS, and the GeoServer. Yeah, and the list continues. This is actually big. It's a big list, okay? So let's go to the next one, which is the get map. So the get map also has, as you can see, it has quite a number of operations. So if you look at this table, we have the first operation as service. And the service is, we have service and version. So you put them in the first line. So is it mandatory? Yes, it's required. If you fail to add service or version, then you're going to get an error. And we are going to, we are going to test that. So what is, let's look at the description for the service and version. So it is similar to what you have seen in the get capabilities. And it also supports version 1 all the way up to version 1.30. Then we have the requests, which is also mandatory. And the request is get map. Remember, the previous request was get capabilities. But the second request that we have here is get map. Then we have the layers. So you cannot, okay, if you look at it from a different standpoint, is that you can't request a map, that has nothing. It has to have layers, okay? So the layers is mandatory. So this one, it is request the layers to display on the map. And these layers can be arranged, actually. They are arranged in a comma-separated list of list names. Yeah, there's a repetition of lists, but it's a comma-separated list of names. And then we have the bounding box, which is also very, very important. The bounding box is the box that your map is going to fit in, or your map is displayed in. So the bounding box, everything in the GIS space is represented in a box, some sort of a grid or a box. So if you draw a map of Africa, it will be on some box of sorts, okay? If you draw the map of the world, since if you are placing it on the screen or on a paper map, it is normally, it's on a flat plane. So you put it in in a sort of a box. So this box needs to have the endpoints, the corner points of this box. They are what you're calling there. They are referred to as the bounding box, or the map, the extents. Sorry. So these extents are in minimum X, minimum Y, maximum X, and maximum Y. And these units are usually in spatial reference system units. Okay, not the pixel units. They're in the SRS units. So we have the width and the height. So this is where we talk of the pixels. So how do you want it to fit in your screen or in your browser or in QGIS, wherever you are loading these layers? So you need to put the values of the width and the height in pixels. So this is the reference for your screen for the width and the height. For the bounding box is for the spatial reference system. Then we have what you call the format. So the format is also mandatory because, you know, if you want to get the map should be, you know, it's supposed to be in something. A GeoServer doesn't know, or the GeoServer REST does not know what you want, you know, until you specify. It does not know if you want your map in a PDF, in a JPEG, in a TIFF, or in whatever, or in open layers. So basically, what it does is that that's why you need to put that format. Then we have the transparent. So you can set your layer transparency, just like you can do it in, let's say, QGIS. You can also be able to set the transparency of your layer in this get map. However, it is not mandatory. And then we also have the background that is specified by BG color. So it is also not mandatory, but I think yesterday we tested and we displayed our background in black, I think. So the background, this results in the background of the image. So you may find yourself in some case that you are rendering some image or you are designing some web map, and you probably want to create, there's something that we call the figure ground. The figure ground is making, you know, if you have a white background and some black dot, for example, your eyes, you know, our eyes as human beings, they may tend to focus on they may tend to focus on the black dot, okay? Or in some cases, it depends. You may tend to focus on the white background area. So depending on your use, you may want to create, if you want to create that scenario of a figure ground, then you may incorporate the background color. Alternatively, let's say you want to obscure some things. You are displaying a map and you do not want maybe to show, if you're displaying probably the map of Africa, for example, you don't want to see the ocean. You don't want probably the ocean is being displayed in some unpleasant color. So you can decide to just obscure it completely by probably displaying some color like black or something else, okay? Such that the components of the polygons, like in this case, if it's Africa, are the ones that will be shown, and the rest of the background around the continent will be black. Okay. So that is on the get map, and as you can see, the get map is quite bulky, or it quite has some, you know, some elements which are more than what we were seeing in the get capabilities. So if you look at this URL, I believe it is also in your notepad, the text document that is in the shared folder. You can look at it. So the first line is the URL to our GeoServer, and you notice that in this case we have the JGS_workspace. Then we have the WMS request. So the WMS has a question mark, so that is the request that we are making. And then we have the service. The service is WMS, since you're working with the parent request, which is the WMS. Then we have the version. In this case, the version that we are using is version 1.1.0. Then we have the requests. The type of request in this case is the get map. Then we have layers. So we have said that you can display layers as a list of comma separated. You know, they're in comma separated. So if you look at the layers line, it has GS_workspace. So you may need to specify the namespace or the name of your workspace, okay? then a colon, then the layer name. So you should not add the layer name directly, okay? Since the workspace and the layer name are both of them are part of your layer name. So you need to put that. So in this case, that's why we have GS_workspace and then a colon, and then we have Africa_cities. Then we also have a second layer. You notice that there's a comma there. Then we have cities, GS_workspace, GHA roads. So you can continue to add, you can continue to add. And then we have the bounding box. Remember we talked about the B box, and you'll notice that these units are, if you would call them pixel units, then they would be really small. So whatever you are displaying, these are pixel units. You remember in our first case, we say that the screen coordinate system starts from the top left. So 30, 23, but let's ignore the negative. So if you have 23 and you display it, the 23, 23rd pixel somewhere here, okay? Depending on the screen size. So the box cannot be pixel coordinates. They are the CRS, geographic coordinates. And the negative stands for it is in the south. And it is in the south because of these minus. So we normally start from this point, then we go clockwise, okay? So the first pair of the coordinates represent the first The first coordinate represents the top left, then the second coordinate represents the top right, and then the other coordinate represents the bottom right, and the final coordinate represents the bottom left. And then you have what you call the width and the height. So the width and the height are now what we refer to as the pixels. The units are the pixels. And then we have the spatial reference system. In this case, it is using EPST 4346, the world, the WGS, World Geodetic System. Then we have the style. So the getmap also has style, but the style is also not mandatory. So you notice that the style equals has nothing. It only has this and. Remember we say the work of these ands, ampersands, they're called ampersands. It's joining all these operations. So the style has nothing. But if you have a style, let's say like your server, you can add the style in here. And then you have the format. So the format in this case, it will output the format as PNG, portable network graphics. So the format can be image /JPEG, it can be PDF, and and many others that are supported. So let's see. So that is on the get map. So let's see what. So this is an example of the URL that we were seeing in the previous slide. This is the output when we did a request on my GeoServer, on my browser. So you notice that it is displaying more than one layer, isn't it? We have the points layer, and then we have also this other one is a line layer. So this is another get map. So this second get map, there's a number of differences, and let's see. Of course, we have differences in the bounding box. The bounding box has big values. So what do you think the B box, why are these values big? Yes? The reference system. So are they, in your opinion, are they geographic or are they projected? Or rather, are they in the global coordinate system or are they in the local coordinate system? And what are the units? Yes, they are meters. So, thank you. So these coordinates, you can actually tell from the back of your mind, you can tell the coordinate system using the bounding box. Okay. Okay, not in all cases, but in this case, because you are displaying the Kenya counties, if you look at the layers up there, GS workspace Kenya counties, GS workspace, say town. So we have the bounding box. So these values represent eastings and northings, okay? And eastings and northings are displayed, represented in meters. Okay. So that is the bounding box. Then we have the width. So in this case, the width is 1,000 pixels and the height is 768. So what happens when you display this? Because I've stated the width is 1,000 pixels. So what happens when I display it in a screen that is smaller than 1,000 pixels? What do you think will happen? What will happen? Anyone who has an idea? Our screen sizes are usually different. So let's say your screen size is something like 768 by, I don't know, 40 or something like that. Small screen, a small tablet or a phone, smartphone that has a small screen resolution. What happens when we display these? You know, the width is high, it's 1,000, so it is more than the screen size that you are representing it. What do you think will happen?
It will overlap.
Yes, please. Yeah, that is. In this case, no. Yeah, the percentages, those ones are used. You would only use them in the code, in the HTML. Yeah, but this is a URL. So the URL, actually there are percentages. I'm not sure if I have any URL that is in percentages. I'll explain the purpose for those percentages. What I did, I have simplified this URL. So that's why you are not seeing the URL in some cases may have percentages, but those percentages do not represent the percent, you know, the percent computation. Then, this is what happens when you display this on a screen that is smaller than the specified width and the height. What happens is that it will, you'll have to scroll. You know, you'll have to scroll. It will display a scroll bar at the bottom. I'm sure you've ever opened a web page that is bigger than, you know, maybe the set width or the set height is bigger than your screen. Or you open most web pages are usually in what you call a portrait view. So you have to scroll, maybe to go to the footer. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to maybe explain on this. Then we have the spatial reference system. So this is EPSG 32737. I believe this is ARC 1960 and WGS 84. ARC 1960 zone 37 south. Okay. You can check it in the epsg.io, the code. Then we have the style. The style, similarly, we have not preset any style, so it is equal to nothing. So we also have the format. Now remember the other difference is that the previous format we had PNG. So this one we have what you call the open layers. So open layers is an application that is well within the Geo server. Okay. So let us see how the output looks like. So this is the output. So this is an open layers map. At the bottom left, I'm not sure whether it's visible, but there's some small text that represents the scale. Then on the bottom right, we have the coordinates. Okay, we have the coordinates. So whenever you move your cursor inside this map, kind of a map, then you'll notice the coordinates will keep on changing. So if you look at inside the map area, we have two layers. So we have the image, the satellite image layer, and also we have the polygons, okay? So you see, we can also be able to display several layers on. We can stack several layers on top of each other on the map, okay? And remember, one of them we know very well is a geotiff, and the other one is a vector, a polygon vector layer. Okay, we already know that from at the back of our minds, but you see, this is one advantage of the WMS. You can be able to, to just pick up some URLs and, I mean, some layered, several layers, and maybe display something, display some phenomena, or display some theme, depending on what you want to, to visualize. So this is just an example to show you that you can be able to overlay to two different layers. So let's look at, now we have the other request, which is get feature info. So the get feature info has also it has a number of operations. Service and version, just like the other two, the previous two, mandatory, and it is similar to what you have in the get map. I think version 1 up to 1.0.3, I think. Then we have the requests. Request type is get feature info, and it is also required, or it's mandatory. Then we have the layers, styles, SRS, or the coordinate system, the box standing for the bounding box, width, and the height. So all these are mandatory, and they are somewhat similar to the get map. Then we have query underscore layers. So query underscore layers is also mandatory, because we want to get feature information. So we need to, there's some sort of querying that we should do. Then inside the query layers, we have a list of comma separated layers to query. The typo here should be layers to query. Then we have feature underscore count. So the feature count is not mandatory, but you can add it nevertheless, and it returns the maximum number of features, and the default is 1. Okay, it should return at least some feature. Then we have the info format, which is also not mandatory. The info underscore format usually returns the format of feature information. And in this case, you can specify what do you want the return to be. Do you want it to display as a plain text, or do you want it to display as a JSON string? Do you want it to return as a JavaScript? This is also referred to as JSON-P and GeoServer. And then do you want to return it as a HTML? HTML is a markup language. It's a text kind of a language. So do you want to return it as a text? Text HTML. Then we have two parameters. We have the X and the Y. So when there are two, we call them coordinates. Okay. Now you have to specify each coordinate. You have to specify the X coordinate, and this is mandatory of a query point on the map. So as it says, 0 is the left side. So 0 is the border, or you can think of it as a line in the left side. And then we have, the I is applied in WMS 1.3. So it is not going to work in 1.2 or 1.0. Then we also have the Y. So the Y ordinate, similarly, just like the X ordinate, it's a query. It's a query for the Y value in the map. And in this case, the Y represents the top. Okay. So when it is 0, it is at the top. So remember, this also tells us the coordinate system that it is using. So it is using a coordinate system for the screen, whereby the point of origin is in the top left. Okay. That's why 0Y is the top part, and 0X is the left part. So that is on the get feature info. Let's look at the URL. Okay, it's a It's a little bit obscured at the top, but I think it's also in the shared text file. So the first line is the URL. And then we have the service, which is WMS. We have the version, which is version 1.1.0. We have the requests. So the request type is get feature info for getting, get the feature information. Then we have the layers. So in this case, we have only one layer, and it is GHA countries, the countries in the Great Horn of Africa. And then in this case, we have added the bounding box. So this bounding box, we have added extreme coordinates for WGS 84, I believe. We have, this is like a latitude and longitude kind of a system, whereby the maximum longitude, the lines that move from north to south pole, the imaginary lines, the maximum is normally negative 180. When you move from the Greenwich meridian, GMT, westwards, we normally refer to them as negative degrees. So that's why we have negative 180. And then we have negative 90. So negative 90 is for the latitudes that are below the equator, okay? So like now, where we are, right now we are in there, somewhere in negative something, because we are below the equator, okay? So that's why we have negatives there. And then 180 is for the extreme, the maximum coordinates in the east for the longitude. And then 90 is at the North Pole. It's a maximum, the maximum latitude towards in the north, okay? Because the equator has 0, and then the prime meridian has 0, okay? So that is, it's using that kind of a coordinate system, the WGS 84. And you remember the WGS 84 works with what you call the decimal degrees, or the degrees, minutes, and seconds, okay? So, yeah, so that is on the B box, or the bounding box. Then we have the width and the height. So for the width and the height, you are at liberty to display whatever values you want, because the only thing is you be careful. If you recall the image that we displayed yesterday when we were concluding, it was somehow compressed. I think, I'm not sure in the north-south, it was like it was compressed. So you have to know which particular width and the height that you want to use. Then we have the format. So in this case, I have not specified the format. And let me go back and see if there's nothing like format here. It should be info format. Oh yeah, I can see the info format. So the format, I think if you put it in this, the browser will ignore it, okay? Because it is not part of the get feature info. Then we have the query layers. So the query layers, which layer are we querying? So we are querying the same layer as the one that we have placed above there. And then how do we want to output our information? We want to output our information in JSON, JavaScript object notation. I think we looked at this when we were looking at vectors, vector data, and then, or the vector model. And then we have the feature count. So the feature count in this case, I have not added any feature count, but you can add. You may be querying a layer that is going to return 10,000 polygons, and you probably do not want that. You probably want to filter or to limit you remember the limit that you are using in PostGIS, if you recall, you limit your records to a certain number. So this is like a limiting feature count. You display, out of the 10,000 features that it returns, you want to display 2, you get? Because probably displaying 10,000 features may take some time, okay? Or maybe may clutter them up. Then we have the X and the Y. So remember the X and the Y, we said they are the ordinates or the coordinates for your area. And one thing you will notice is that the X and the Y are within the values of width and the height, isn't it? They are within, or they are somewhere below. We have the X as 550 So in this case, the X is the left, is either the left or the right. So it does not go beyond, if you look at in this case, the width is 651, and then we have X as 550, and then Y is 700, and the height is 768. So that is what they should not go beyond. And then otherwise you'll be requesting for a pixel that is not in the map, somewhere in infinity, somewhere out of the map. Then we have exceptions. So you remember we talked about exceptions. So yeah, and I've gotten what I wanted. You notice that there's a %2. There's a %2f, %2f before the v. After the application, you have %2f, v, and d, whatever. So this %2 is a language that is, if you have been working with the web and websites and all that, you may have noticed that the URL at some point, if you copy and paste it somewhere else, it usually comes with such things like percents and all that. So this %2f, it represents the slash, but in that language of the URL that the browser understands. So that's why you have that %2f. Okay. So we're going to see that. We are going to test it actually and see. So that's why we have that 2%, %2f. It stands for the slash. Then we have the type name. So the type name, seems I have not specified it here. The type name is referring to the layer as well, the layer that we are doing the query. So let us look at the output. So the output of this get feature info, in this case, I requested for a JSON. So this is an output. It was a very long JSON. So that's why I just used a short screenshot representing just a few features. And then I think this should be our final one in WMS. We have what you call the describe layer. Okay. So the describe layer has service and version, which is similar to the previous ones. Then we have the requests. So the request type is the get layer, describe layer. The other one was get map. Okay. Then we have the layers. So the layers, of course, you specify them. You can specify them as comma separated, or you can just add a single layer that you want to query or that you want to show. Then we have exceptions, which is not mandatory. So this states that it is a format in which the format in which report exception. How does it report the error? Okay. There's some typo there, but yeah, it is. The exceptions explain how the error is going to be shown in your browser or in wherever you are querying it. So this is an example of describe layer. So this one has few lines, has about 7. So the first line is our usual, familiar URL. Then we have our second option, which is the service, which is WMS, the version, which is 1.1.1, the request, which is the describe layer. Then we have the layers, and in this case, we have added 2 layers, the workspace and the GHA countries and GHA roads, and the output format is JSON. So this JSON will have, the bigger the feature, especially if it's polygon, it represents each point in that border of the polygon or the boundary of the polygon. So it may tend to be very big, especially for a polygon. So this is an example of the describe layer. The good thing is that the describe layer does not show coordinates or the features, individual features. That's why it is, if you look at this keenly, you'll notice that we only have 2. We only have the first layer name, which is GHA countries, and the second one in the parentheses, which is GHA roads, because I did my query for only 2 layers. Okay. So yeah, so next we look at the WFS. But before we look at the WFS, I would want us to move to let's do a demo. I believe you have your GeoServers, so you can start your GeoServer first. Yeah, so as a start, you going to start your GeoServer. You remember how to start the GeoServer? So let me show you how we are going to. So you'll just simply click on start, and then you search for GeoServer. This is the quickest way. And then you click on GeoServer. And it will start. So this is how this window, it will show this window for the logs when it's starting GeoServer. So my GeoServer is starting. It has started. So I'll open the browser. So this is my browser. Let's see. Let's search for localhosts, GeoServer. So this is my GeoServer. Then I will just let me just log in. Okay, so this is how the layers look like. So my GeoServer has 9 layers. So let me just click on these 9 and see. Yeah, so these are the layers. Nothing has changed from our previous session. So let me go back to the home page. So a quick way to get capabilities. First of all, have you installed the Notepad++? You can install it. Let me see if I have the download. Yeah, so this is it. You should be having these files. Okay. The NPP 8.19 installer. So this one is the 32-bit version. And the other one with the suffix x64 is for 64-bit. Okay. So kindly download the one that suits you. I know that people who are using 32-bit, so you can download the first one, which is the 32-bit, and you install. I prefer using the Notepad++ because it is it's lightweight and it's not complicated or too detailed. There are some other text editors that are probably well suited for programmers and developers. Even Notepad++ is in the same category. However, I find it user friendly, and yeah, you can use it in the place of Notepad, the Notepad for Windows. So let me allow you guys some few minutes to download and install. I will also try and install, or I already have mine, but let me just try and install it. So it will show you this kind of a window for the language. So I'm using English. If you want to use it in another language, you can click on that. Then we have the installation wizard, which is similar to the other installation wizards that we have been seeing. So we'll just click next. Yeah, you agree to the license. Then you, the install location, you click next. Then for this part, you can, the components, you can leave them as they are. Click next. And then there's a question, it's asking whether you want to create a desktop shortcut. So you can, maybe for simplicity, easy access, you can check on this checkbox, create shortcut on desktop. Then you click install. Yeah, so it has installed. It is quite fast. It's a small tool. So then if you click finish, it's going to automatically run. And when it runs, this is how it looks like. Shows this page. You can excuse me, you can change, you can close this change log. So you'll have an empty notepad that looks like this notepad ++. Yeah, so for the links that I shared with you in a separate text, you can also open them. However, I would want us to construct our own URL, okay? And we will do it together for maybe the first 2 layers, and then I would want you to construct at least for 1 or 2 layers on your own, okay? After we have grasped the concept. So just keep, you can open that file, you can have it there. Yes, please. Oh, you're installing? Oh, yeah, Linux. Which editor do you use? Yes. Yeah, whether you can still feel free if you're comfortable with it. You can still use it. Actually, it's also good. It also comes in handy. Or you're using the port 8080 still in Linux. Okay. While the others are installing, let me just see. I think there's a command. There's that command that we I will try to zoom in my screen because I see from here. So I believe we have our GeoServers running. So in the home page for GeoServer, let me just open mine. We have these service capabilities. You remember we talked about capabilities? So I would invite you to, let's begin with the WMS, since that's what we are looking at first. You can click on these 1.3.0. Just click on it and see what happens. It may take some time. So you see, this is what I'm getting. Are you getting a similar kind of an output? Or has it downloaded some file in your browser? Yeah. It's different. But is it displaying a text? Yeah. It's an XML. Yeah. So could you look at the URL up there in the address bar? This one up here. What does URL look like? So mine at the end, it has request is equals to get capabilities. And then we have the version 1.3, of course, because that's the one we have clicked. And then we have service. And then we have OWS. So do you notice those ands, the ampersands in that link? Yeah. Yeah. So those are used to join those operations. So one thing I can see, okay, the problem with this, the way this information is displayed, somebody, for us, since we know what EPSG is, it makes sense. But out there, if you go and give the layman out there, a link like this, they may not understand what this is. Okay. So I'm not sure. Maybe does your browser display it in an XML in that, what is it called, the colored format? Then that's good. Mine does not. But let me see, which browser are you using? I think Mozilla normally. Is it Mozilla or Chrome? Or the Chrome is also showing. You're using Mozilla. In Chrome, does it also show as an XML, as styled? Okay, then I think my Chrome is probably not outdated. Maybe it has some things. So if you are using Chrome, have you installed the REST client? I would like us to also look at that REST client. You can install it as a Chrome plug extension. Okay. Let me show you how you're going to do that. You can click on these three buttons here, and then you click on more tools, and under more tools we have extension. So inside the extensions, there are three buttons here on the right, on the left. So these three buttons, when you click on them, it shows extensions, keyboard, then open Chrome Web Store. Okay. So open your Chrome Web Store. And when you open your Chrome Web Store, it shows you all these applications. So in the search bar here, you can type REST link. Just type REST client, space client, and then you search. Okay, it's showing me some other things. Let me just fetch the REST. Yeah, advanced. It's called this advanced REST client. So you can just type advanced REST client, because it will be good to see how this thing displays. Do not install this. There's something else that is calling itself RC cookie exchange. So it's not the one. Let me also check something. Advanced REST client.com. Yeah, so you can also open these this link. Let me copy it and add it in the chat. You can install that REST client. Because it will help us to understand some things, you know, about these the GeoServer REST and those things, those parameters that we are putting here. Anyone who has been able to install in their Chrome? I also think they have a, I think this is for Windows, yeah. Actually, when you download these, it downloads for an installer. So I think you can install it. And after you have installed it, it's going to display itself in the start. When you click the start, you can search for REST. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Okay. By the way, remember not to close this window for GeoServer, okay? Otherwise it will stop GeoServer. Yeah, so yeah, so I think this is how it looks like after you have installed. It starts itself automatically. Yeah, so ensure you select these. There's this. They say that they collect some anonymous data. So ensure you click no consent. You do not want the software to collect any data. So after you have clicked, it is the third option here. Then you can click on save and open the application. Not sure. Let me see how the application looks like. So I think even if you do not have even if you do not have Chrome, then it's no problem. But I would, if you have Chrome, use it from the Chrome. Okay, use it from the Chrome browser. And you'll notice, right, like right now, I have installed this, and I already have another one in Chrome. So when I search this REST, if you have installed it from your Google Chrome, this is how it looks like here. You can open it. And when you open it, this is how it looks like. I was actually testing some few things with the GeoServer. Okay. So you can, if you have this, that's fine. If you have the other one, it's also fine. Are you able to start GeoServer? Yes. 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 If you have Postman, you can use that as well. Yeah. Or any other REST. For those of us who understand, you know, who are doing the web, been doing web development, they understand what REST is, REST API. So they probably have some tools. So whichever tool you want to use. Myself, I find these to be a bit better, even for people who haven't used it. Okay, so if you have this tool or this one, go to your browser, the one that has displayed in the page that has displayed these get capabilities, and I want you to copy the URL and ensure you highlight the whole URL. You can just click the mouse here, highlight, or double click. Well, if it's like this, you can just double click here, and then you copy. Right click, copy, and then you paste it in these client. We call it a REST client. Let's paste it here. And for those who are using this one, this REST client, ensure that this is post. This is something here. Ensure that it is, ensure that it is get. If you're using the one for Chrome, it may, if it is get, leave it as it is. Otherwise, if it is something else, just put it as get. And then you paste, ensure that your URL is pasted here. Okay, now what I would want us to look, before you click send, there's a blue send button there. I want you to click this. There's an arrow here, a drop down arrow. So do you notice that now it shows us there's some things that have collapsed here. It's saying query parameters, service, WMS, version 1.3, request, get capabilities. Okay. So these are the operations that we are doing. In this case, there are only three. We have service, version, and request. Okay. So let us click send. I think it may take some time depending on because it's fetching quite a lot of information. So if you have like 1,000 layers there or multiple services, then it. So you notice that mine is also loading. There at the bottom, yeah, I think it has completed. For those of us who are using the other one, let me just paste it here. I also ensure that you have get here. So let me paste, you can remove the HTTP, paste yours, because it also has the HTTP. So initially it was like this. So remove this HTTP so that you do not have duplicate HTTP. Clear that so that it's empty. And then you paste. So after you have pasted, you can click, there's this button here, the blue button. You can just run. And then this is what it shows below here. Do you notice this is like the same, the information you are seeing on that screenshot in the slides? Yeah. So this is what I was saying. This is an XML declaration. Okay. So this is an XML file and the way it looks like. And why I also like this is because you see it is displaying it in a color coded fashion. So you can be able to sort of tell what is being represented. Like this is name, WMS, tile. So if you look at this and you look at whatever we have here, you know, this one is not really very user friendly. So you can feel free to scroll down. You'll notice that we have the contact person. If you had edited your contact details, then we have, we have the get map. So get capabilities shows everything. It shows if your server supports get map, get description layer, and all that, okay? So we have under get map, the formats that are supported, they're quite a number: PDF, RSS, Google Earth, KML, GeoTIFFs, JPEG, JPEG PNG8. We have open layers 1, 2, and 3. And then I don't know what this is, but there's something written DCH type, HTTP, get, and then it shows the URL. This is the URL. Then it shows the get feature info, which we have talked about. And then it shows the formats that are supported. Then it shows the EPSG. Actually, I think the EPSGs, if you look at my browser, all these are EPSGs, they occupy the biggest space, okay? So even if you look at your client, the REST client, you'll notice that they occupy a very big, especially in the client, because each is on its own line. Then after these ones, you'll notice that the next part, if you scroll down towards the end of the EPSGs or the coordinate systems, you'll notice that we have the bounding box here. We have the layers. We have the first layer, which is the workspace, Africa cities. We also have some layer here, which is a point, a red point. So this is a default style that exists in GeoServer. Then we have the Great Horn of Africa countries. So it shows the layers in short. So it gives quite a lot of information, okay, in your what is it called, in your REST client, okay. So yeah, so this is on the get capabilities. So what happens in the background when you try to load a layer in QGIS? It actually checks for the get capabilities, okay? Because the get capabilities are going to tell QGIS in this case, because QGIS is a desktop software, but it can also act as a client software in this case. It's a client software, it's fetching layers from the server, from the geo server. So it checks. If you have requested a WMS to display as an image on your map, on your QGIS map area, in the background, this is what is happening. It is requesting for the get capabilities, okay? And that's why, okay, this is why we are going through this, because, you know, you may request it maybe in QGIS or somewhere else, and it tells you, you know, cannot fetch capabilities or, you know, something else, okay? Now, there's one thing I want us to do. I want to introduce an error in one way. I want to remove, you remember there are what we call the mandatory values. So let me remove and see what will happen. You can also try, or you can even remove something there. You can remove a letter, so let me try actually and remove a letter. Like it should be OWS. So if I've removed the W and then I click this, you'll notice that we have an error here. And it shows what? 404 not found, okay? So status, so this status, this 404 is called a status. So you have 200, 300, 404. There are those people who are doing the web, you know, web development and understand the issues to do with the web and web administration. They understand what these codes mean. But for us, you can see very well that it is saying that this is not found, and it, you know, so because I've removed the W, so let me just return it. Okay, let me change the WMS version, or let me remove the ampersand, this and between the WMS and the version. And then I click that. You see there's a different type of error. Now I have no service. Okay, there's no service. Are we getting something like that or some errors? You know, try to do something, try to remove the even one operation, then you see what happens. So let me return the URL to how it was. Then I click on this button again. Yeah, so it has returned. So let me remove the requests, the get capabilities, and I leave the request as empty is equals to nothing. And I click that. So there's another error, could not determine GeoServer request from HTTP request. So just as the error states, you know, could not determine the request. What request are we asking? What are we asking the GeoServer? So the request, it is because the request is empty, okay? So that is on the get capabilities. So let me also do the same here. Let me remove these get capabilities, or let me, with the good thing with this one, I'm not sure about the other, but this advanced REST client, you can either choose to edit the parameters here. That's why I actually like it, because you can add something if you want to, you can remove. So let me just remove the name get capabilities and then I click send. Yeah, and I'm getting there's some error here. Could not determine GeoServer request from HTTP request, okay? Yeah, but you'll notice that here it is saying 200 okay with a green. It means that actually it has connected to the server, but it cannot get that. It cannot fetch that, get that, the output. There is no response for the request. Yeah, the actual request, which is the get capabilities. So let's go to another one. You can go back to your browser and then you go back, you click back once, or you can return. What I want is that I want us to be in this homepage folder. Let's go to layer preview, okay? So if we go to layer preview, let's click on any. You can click on any layers. But before that, you notice that when you click on these, under all formats, you have this drop down. We have the WMSs and the WFSs and all that. So could you click on one of these? Let's click on PNG for any layer. So this is the output that I'm getting in my browser, okay? Inside my browser, this is the output. So let's try and, as we have done in the previous one, just copy that URL. Ensure it is, I'm sure this one is a bit long. So ensure that you copy the whole URL. So the good thing with browsers, if you click once on this, it highlights everything. So I can just copy that. I right click here and copy. And then I can paste it in my client, the REST client. I think it has not copied. Copy. And then I can open my REST client and then I can paste this. Yeah, so I want us to note one thing. In that URL that you have copied, yeah? Do you notice? Okay, maybe you may not notice here. Let's open your Notepad++, then you paste that URL there. Maybe you can even add it in the one that I had shared at the bottom. So let me zoom in. You see, this is what I have. This is the URL, the workspace, the requests, WMS, the service, which is also WMS, the version, which is 1.1.0. Now, in the workspace, do you notice here we have something, we have %3A, yeah? We have %3A. So this represents a column. How can I tell that? Okay, it's because I've used GeoServer, but it represents this, okay? So the browser, the URL has a way of, there's a way it converts those things like colon, slashes into something else, okay? So don't worry if you see, something that like that. At the back of your mind, you should know that it is like this one represents a colon. So even if you remove the %3 and capital A, be careful not to remove the capital A for Africa. If you remove that and replace with a colon, it's going to work, okay? Even if you, and if you leave it like this, it is also going to work because you have actually gotten it from the browser. So yeah, we continue. We have the bounding box. You notice even after the bounding box, after every coordinate, you have %2 and C. So this one represents the comma, okay? Yeah, then after EPSG, once again, we have %3A, which is a column. And we have %2F for this image. So it should be slash. This is a slash, represents the slash image slash PNG. So once again, another thing that you can also do when you have opened your layers PNG, if you right click, you notice that in the browser, it tells you save, you can save the image, okay? So you can save the image as a PNG. Here it is. It identifies it as a PNG. Okay. And maybe you can even open the PNG in something else, like a photo view. So this is what I have. It is an actual image. Okay, so maybe we can paste this URL in our REST client. Click send. Yeah, so yesterday we tried and we got something like this. Yeah, this is, this doesn't make sense. However, you notice that up here it is saying PNG. There's something that is saying PNG. So our client here cannot display the PNG. Then there's an eye icon. I don't know what this one will show. but it can also not, it also cannot display. So let me test on these other clients. I actually like this. This one is showing the PNG. Okay. This one, not the advanced REST client, these are the one. Although they are both called advanced REST client. This one shows the image. Yeah, so I want to give you a short task. Could you try copying and pasting for some other layer that is not this? These are for Africa cities. And maybe you can share your screenshot in our chats. Okay, you can try and visualize your layers PNG. Some other layer that is not this. In this we are using Africa cities. So I want you to use another different. You can either do it in your browser or you can do it in the REST client. Feel free. And then share the photo or I want you to do it as either a PNG or a JPEG. Then you share the screenshot. And I'll also take this opportunity is there anyone who is lost or has a challenge accessing their geo server, has a challenge visualizing their layer or something like that? Feel free to you can also type it in the chat. I'll be in a position to assist. Anyone who has been able to get a PNG or any other layer? Or you're using the REST client for Google. Yeah, you can still use just stick to the URL in the browser. Yeah, so you can probably share with us that screenshot from the browser. I think you can even save us. You can right click it from the browser and save as image. Thanks, Kevin. You can see some image for the Greater Horn of Africa. Yeah, I see somebody else also has mine. I hope they have not copied copied and pasted my okay. Anyone who has a point layer or there is the roads, I think. Or the satellite image. It's not big. Okay, so I think I believe that we are on the right track, and if you have understood some few things about the WMS. So what I would want us to do briefly, I will share with you guys. Just give me a second. I want to share with you a URL to an existing GeoServer online, okay? Because right now we are using our own GeoServers. So let's see. Let's get something that is out there. You remember yesterday there's a site that we had opened. Okay, so we are still on WMS. So there's a link that I'm going to share. Just open that link and try and see if you can fetch. Yeah, thank you once again, Kevin. You can see the image. So there's a link that I've shared in the chat. You can just open it and just check on those things that we have looked at for the WMS. So you can try and get the capabilities. And all I want is just anyone who will be able to get the capabilities to open it in the REST client, and maybe you can share a screenshot with us. So let me show you. If you want to take a screenshot, maybe for some who maybe don't know, there is this tool. I'm assuming you're all using Windows 10. There is this tool called Snip and Sketch. Okay. For me, I find it as the fastest way to take a screenshot, rather than clicking the print screen. The print screen will print your whole screen, and probably you have some live chat somewhere else or something else that you are doing and you do not want us to see. So you click on this Snip and Sketch, and you'll notice that it will show this. It will open this window for Snip. And then when you click on, sorry, let me repeat. When you click on New, you can draw a box in any. You see? Then you can just copy up here or click Control C. And then you can paste it somewhere. Let me actually paste it in the chat. So I find it to be quick. So you can use it to just take your screenshot. So open the link. Let me also open the link in my browser. You should be having, sorry, we're having something like, where has it gone? you should be having a GeoServer output like this. So this is a live or an external website. Somebody can try and get the capabilities. So let me just do it here. Yeah, so maybe your organization or your department wants to, maybe they want to deploy some GeoServer and they want to be sharing some layers or some information. So this is the first step, okay? Get capabilities. So you can see this one is called GeoNode local GeoServer. Okay, there are no contacts. But you see, you can see the URL. You can see the supported formats. You can see I don't know what this is, some other format. We have PNG, JPEG, and GeoJSON. Then we also have the coordinate systems. Actually, this one seems to have a lot of information. Yeah, you can see we have even a layer called, I know this is a layer, or rather this is a style based on some layer called GeoNode Kismayu corridor.trade volumes. And then we have navigable rivers. It's also a style. Natural resources. Yeah, so there's a lot of information you can fetch from the get capabilities. Okay. Yeah. So then finally, I will share with you one more final link. That one you'll go and even this one you can go and do it on your own later. Trying to fetch the URL. Okay, so you can use this link to do other tests. So let's now look at the WFS. So the WFS is quite interesting, and we are going to see why. So I've shared the link. The second link, so even that one you can use it for your other tests purposes. So does anyone have a question on WMS? Which reminds me, there's something that we have not checked. So in the text document that you downloaded, there are a few things that were there. Those URLs. Is it? Yeah, so this is a text file. I think we have looked at get map. So the map that you are seeing, the PNG, Basically, what you did is a get map request, okay? The one that was showing an image in your browser. And let me copy and paste this in the browser and see. There are a few final steps that we have not. Yeah. Have you tried this? The first URL in the text document, it has 2 layers. Yeah. It has 2 layers. It has Africa cities, and this is for the data that we are using, GHA roads. Have you tested it? And actually, if you have not changed your port number in your when you're installing to your server, if it is the way it is, then you can highlight the whole URL like this. You can copy that URL. It is the first URL after the get map 1. Ensure you highlight it. It is from line 3 to line 13. And you paste it in your browser. So you paste it in your browser, you should be able to see this kind of an output. Do you see that? You're having errors. You should be seeing a map like this. Yeah, the name of your workspace. So replace my GS underscore. So whatever you name your workspace, you should call let's start your workspace. Okay. So there's one more task that I would like us to do. Actually, no, you to do. Could you add another layer? Just add a layer in there. Remember, they're almost separated. So add another layer in the text. Okay, this is, we have to be smart about this. This is the boundings on Africa. Actually, I didn't show. Just add the there. Because right now what we have is 2 layers. Okay. From the text that I've shared. So could you add a third layer? Let me add mine secretly. If you have been able to add yours, you can share with us. Here's a screenshot. Anyone who has been able to add? Is it challenging? Have you been able to add any layer? Remember, you can add the layers as just comma, they are comma separated, okay? So in the line that contains the layer, you just add a comma and another layer, whichever layer you want to add. From there? Okay, there are those layers that we added into our geo servers in our previous session. The layers that are like the ones we had in Africa cities, we had Great Horn of Africa roads, and these are the ones we have. So you add the layers that are in the same geo server as them. I know I've shared a number of links, but you're using, for this, you're using our local geo server. Yeah, you've been able to add. Fine. So this is how mine looks like. If you look you look carefully, you notice that there's some layer that is below. Also, another thing that you should note, if you're adding multiple layers, it depends on the order in which you arrange them, okay? So like in my case, I had I added this is GHA countries. I had added it as the last. So when I added it as the last option or as the last in that line of layers, what happened is that it was displaying on top of the roads, okay? So imagine you're designing a map, a web map somewhere, then you use your polygon, let's say for a country, on top of the roads. That is not cartographically correct, okay? Okay, so in terms of the map design, you'll have obscured your roads. So if you are to represent the roads and then you cover them with. So what I did, I switched. I added after the African cities. Actually, the African cities are covered. So even this map is, if you give it to a cartographer or those people who are experts or experienced in map designing, they will automatically tell you that it does not represent, it is not well represented, okay? So it depends on the way you arrange those layers. Let me show you the texts. So this is the text. So basically what I've done, I've added, this is my first layer, cities. So the layer that you call first will be at the bottom. Then the one that you call second, it is stacked on top. It's like a stack. They place themselves. So the last layer will be the topmost layer, okay? So I've already shown you my image. This is how it looks like. I've noticed the cities are at the bottom, okay? So I need to place them to be the topmost. So what I will do, I will just go to my text, and then I can identify the African cities. So I'll remove them from the first and place them in the last option. So I'll just cut. And if you do this, be very careful so that be careful, because you need to remove this comma, otherwise you will have errors. Then I'm going to paste it here at the end. And notice that there's also an ampersand. Do not add it after the ampersand. Add it before the ampersand. But before you add it, you should add what? Yes, a comma, because these are comma separated layers. So I'll put it as that. Let's see if it works. So I'll just copy this link, paste it. Yeah, do you see the points have appeared on top? Yeah. So that is the correct representation. Okay, so that is on WMS. So let's jump into the WFS. So I'll refer you back to the slides. Yeah, so there's also what you call the describe layer, but that one I'll also leave it to you as a take home. You can go and check what the describe layer returns. In my case, it was returning a JSON, and you see there are two layers here. There is a GHA countries and GHA roads that were being returned. So let us look at the WFS. So the WFS operations, we have the get capabilities, which we have been looking at. Retrieve service metadata, supported operations and parameters. So these just as similar as the previous for the WMS. Then we have the get feature. We have get feature, which returns a selection of features from a data source, including geometry and attribute values. Remember, we were not fetching geometries in WMS, okay? So in this case, we are talking about fetching geometries. Then we also have the lock feature. The lock feature prevents a feature from being edited through a persistent feature lock. So maybe I can add a layer. There may be a layer that you have uploaded in the GeoServer, and that layer should not be edited. So for some particular reason. So that what happens there is that you use the lock feature. Okay. Think of this lock feature as for those of us who have used something like, I mean, there's some files when you try to edit and save, it will tell you that that file is being used or it has been accessed somewhere, okay? Let me use another example of a different context. When you try to close the connection of PostGIS, Postgres, and there's somebody who is connected either through PSQL or through pgadmin, if you try to end the service or to kill the process, maybe if you're using Linux, there's a message that is going to show you. It's going to show you there are some users, there are a certain number of users who are connected to this computer. Another second example, if you're using your Windows machine and you have, let's say there are 3 users, and then the other user, one of the users, what they did, they did not completely log out, they just locked. And then you're using an account and you click on shutdown. Windows also shows you that there's somebody else who may lose their work, you know, if you. So this lock feature is I believe the ones who are developing or designing the GeoServer, they had that in mind. You may have a layer that probably is being used somewhere else, or it's being edited. There's a live edit session maybe in QGIS or somewhere else. Then somebody else opens the same layer and wants to, you know, maybe to edit or to remove maybe some edits that are being, you know, there's some asynchronous kind of saving that is going on. So normally what happens is that you may have to use a lock, otherwise it would be chaotic, you know, you edit and somebody else removes, you know, you append something, somebody reducts it, you get. So yeah, so that is one of the features. Then we have what you call the described feature layer, described feature type. So the described feature type returns a description of feature types supported by WFS service, okay? Then we also have what you call the transaction. So transaction is a retrieval of a generated legend of a map. So in this case, what we are going to look at, in our case, we are going to look at the get capabilities and the get feature. And I think the describe feature type. And then we shall also, after we look at the URL, like the way we have looked for we have gone through the WMS, we will look at the same in, we will try to load our services in QGIS, okay? Because there's something I would want us to look at with regard to these 2 services, which is WFS and WMS. So let's go to the other one, to the get capabilities. So let me throw a quick question to you guys. What do you think is the difference between these get capabilities and the other one that we had previously? Just look at that URL. Is there a difference, or you know, it's still the same get capabilities? Okay, this is the current get capabilities, okay? Just take a screenshot with your eyes of this. Let's go back to the other one. Let's go back to the get capabilities for the previous. So we have this. Have you recorded it somewhere? So let's check the other one. This is the previous one. Is there any difference? Of course, don't tell me the screenshot. The URL. The service. Okay, let's see. Service and what else? Service and Yeah, the service. The previous one is WMS. This one is WFS. Okay, that is the service, and then I think also the version. Yeah, because the WFS version is different from the WMS version. So those are the two difference. The difference rather with the previous one. So the get capabilities also returns something like this. It's more or less the same with the others, but you'll notice that there are some differences somewhere because this one is dealing with features, fields. So this is the described feature type. So line 1, 2, and 3 are just familiar. They are familiar to us. Then we have the request. So in this case, the request is described feature type. And in this feature type, we are looking at, there's something else that is called type names. Whereby it is the type name is the name of the layer, and in this case we have workspace Kenya towns. So let's see how it looks like. I believe it is also in the text, the downloaded text from the shared folder. So this is what it gives as an output. Yeah, you'll notice on the lines below it is saying element name Kenya towns, Kenya underscore towns. And I believe this looks like it is it's saying that it is a GML, geographic markup language, which is one of the vector outputs or the vector models for GIS. Then this is the get feature. Similarly, the only change here is the request and the type name. No, the type name is still the same for the layer, but the request is different. It's get feature. So do you remember the one we had in WMS was get? Get what? The one we did, the one that is bringing the PNG and the JPEGs and the TIFF. What is it? It is under WMS and it is get something. Yeah? No. Get capabilities for all the operations, all the outputs and all that. It is get map. It is get map. Okay. So whenever you get an output of a PNG, a TIFF, a JPEG, at the back of your mind, you should know that this is a get map request. Okay. So the I don't know whether to call it not synonym, but the alternative now when you come to WFS, it is get feature. Okay. And we are going to look at that in there's a URL, it should be there in the text document that we shared. So this is what it outputs. You'll notice one thing. We have after the upper things there, we have somewhere where we have WFS member. Then it starts with Kenya towns 1. Then you'll notice that we have a point, a coordinate. You see there's a coordinate there. And the coordinate is bound by some things that are written point. We call them the statements, not statements, but yeah, those things that are in the brackets. There's point, SRS name. Inside SRS name, we have SRS dimension. Now, let me take you a little bit back. You remember when you were working with PostGIS, we had somewhere where we were returning multi-line string, multi-polygon collection. And we said that it has what? It is a 2D, it has 2 dimensions. So you notice that we have something here titled SRS dimension is equals to 2. So that means it is a 2D, okay? And then we have the town name. The town name here in this case is Msambweni, okay? Which is the first town. So we are going to look at that also. So let's quickly go back into our geo server. And before we move to the next step, so I'll open the browser. So we won't fetch the get capabilities because we have done it. So in this case, what we are going to do, we are going to check, go to GeoServer home, and then under WFS, let's use the highest version, which is version 2. And in this case, actually, instead of fetching these WFS, let's go to the layer preview. click any of your layer. Actually, could you try clicking on these MSA Town, NBI, and Samburu? You click on the select one drop-down menu, this one here. And could you tell me if you can see any WFS layers? For either Samburu, NBI, or IOMSA Town. Why? Why do you think we don't have any WFS? Yeah. What data type are they? So if I click here, I'm trying to look for WFS. It's actually here, but there's there are no options for it. We only have WMSs. So this is because this data type is a raster. It is an image, okay? It's a TIFF. So it does not have it does not have an attribute table. It does not have fields for containing some textual data, some strings, or some of those things. So that's why we do not have we cannot get feature for this, for the image. So let's open. So in this case, you have to work with either polygon so these are polygon. This is a line here and a point. So let's go to Kenya constituencies. And then under select one, we look at WFS, okay? You notice that this WFS has CSV, GML, 3 versions of GML. Then it has GeoJSON, it has KML, and it has shapefile, okay? And then it also has text CSV. So whenever you can try, click on text CSV, click on shapefile, and all that. So for example, if I click on text CSV, what it does, it initiates a download, okay, of the CSV. So let's open this in Excel. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Just expand this. Does this look familiar? Some coordinates are very long. Yeah, so this is a multi-polygon layer. And actually, let's see if we can load it in QGIS, okay? Because ideally we have downloaded a vector file. So what you're going to do, we are going to add it. Remember, when you're adding a CSV, you add it as what? If you recall. Do you add it directly in QGIS? Yeah? Let's try and add it directly. So let me just drop it. You see, if I've just dragged and dropped, but I don't see it in the map, okay? It has, and yet if I look at the open attribute table, here it is. So how do we import the CSV? Anyone who has an idea? We did it in the first sessions. Yes? XLS. No, we add it as delimited values. Yes? Yeah. Layer, add new. Thank you. Layer, we go to layer, add layer, then add delimited text. because our goal here is we want to see the features. We can only see the features if we have the geometry. So if you just drag and drop, it adds it as a table, okay? So we have this delimited text layer. Then inside, we select the file, of course, we browse to the file. So this is the file. Then we have this geometry definition. So geometry field, the geom, type, you can leave it there so that it can detect. However, if I'm not sure, I can come here and check which is this column. And you notice this column does not have a name because it already identifies this as geom, okay, because of the way it is arranged, the multi-polygon. You can also check on this. If I know the X and Y values, so actually this one seems to be it's a CSV. Yeah, let me refer it in Excel. Yeah, this column is called the geom. So the geometry field should be the geom, and it is a Kenya constituency is a polygon file, and the coordinate system is that. So I'll just click on add. There it is. I think it's taking some time. So let me remove this layer. I don't know why it's displaying like this. Let me check the feature count. So anyway, that is how you add your, saying that it has 50. So we have 50 counties. Yeah. So this is one of the WMSs, the CSV. Let's go back to our GeoServer. So let's look at GeoJSON. So these are the GeoJSON looks like. And you remember there's a link that we call the geojson.io. Not confuse it with epsg.io. We have the link that you are using a lot. You can use that link to test your GeoJSON, okay? So what I can do, I can just click here and I'll select all and then I copy. Copy and then I open my geojson.io. So you'll notice that most vector formats are supported in WFS, okay? So I'm just going to remove whatever is here. I think it may take some time because the features could be a lot. Yeah, actually my page has crashed. So anyway, it's no problem. So that is on the GeoJSON. Yeah, so let's go to our script, okay? And then under WFS, which there are two last lines. We have one for get capabilities. So this one if you want to get it, you can click on the WFS in GeoServer. So let's look at the scribe feature type, okay? So you can copy and paste it in your browser or in your REST client. In this case, I'll do this. However, I think my link has a problem. You see, my link is saying example.com. So I need to change it to localhost port 8080. /geoserver. So let me copy this as it is and see whether it will work. Yeah, so it's complaining that the URL cannot be reached. Do you know why? Look at this URL. Do you notice there are problems here inside? There are what? Telling me it cannot reach the describe, it cannot describe for me the WFSY. Yeah, space in the URL. Yeah. So you'll notice even in my text there are spaces. So you need to remove this space. Sorry, you need to remove the space. Now I think it looks, it still has one. Some spaces. Good. Okay, it still complains. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's why actually. That's what I'm trying to change. It should be OWS. But previously, they were using the same as the service version. Let's see if it will fetch or it's still throwing errors. So there seems to be an error. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Let's copy this and add it in our browser. Yeah, so there seems to be a problem. So let's check our. So if you go to let me refer you to the slide. Do you see this? Yeah. So what are we missing? Yeah, we are missing type names, the last line. So you need to add the type names. So let me copy these. Let me copy these. So I'm going to share with you the link, that link. Let's see if whether that link works. I'll also paste it in the client. Okay, it's saying no service because there's a space here. Some spaces. They're annoying. Let's fetch. Yeah, so this link gives us some output. So it shows us the layer, Kenya towns. And the information we have, the workspace. So this one does not have a lot of information, but it gets the type. So it's saying that the extension is GML. GML is that vector file that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, so that is on the describe feature type. You can test with other layers, with other features. Then in our next one, we are going to look at, let's look at get feature. So I will go to the text document. I'm not sure if the get feature is it. So we do not have get feature here, or do we? Yeah, we do not. This is describe feature type, and this get capabilities. So allow me to fetch it from the slides, and then I'll share it with you. Please let me know if yours works. So let me add it here as well. Yeah, so it has downloaded an XML. So let me open with the client. I think this is because there's some spaces. Yeah, and you can also see the size of whatever it is fetching. So the larger the size, the more the time it will take. So this is what I've gotten. So notice that this displays also the fields. The fields for that get feature is like the get map. However, get feature does, it displays the attribute table, the fields. Okay. So if you look at this XML, you notice that we have Kenya Town 5. I believe this is row number 5. Yeah, so it has so much data. It has a lot of data, a lot of points. A place called Wa, Tongwe, Nyali. Yeah, so the list is quite. It has all the information, detailed information. It has even the coordinate system, the SRID, PSG 426. Yeah. So that is on the get map. Then let us check on the other one, which is yeah. So I think we have checked on the get map and the get describe feature type. Okay. So as I had said, would want us to open your QGIS. Open your QGIS and add the WMS and WFS. Which points to our local GeoServer. So if I may ask you, we used Open OSM base map. You are using it in our first sessions. So what service were we using? We were using OSM base map, OpenStreetMap base map. You remember in some sessions, first sessions. So you are opening it as a service. Which service? Now that we have discussed WMS and WFS. Yeah. Yeah. So the OSM base map or the Google, what is it called? The Google base map, the Google Earth, the Google satellite imagery, for example, Bing maps. They're usually, actually they are both WMS and WFS. But they are usually tiled, okay? That's why you are able to load them faster because they are tiled. You remember yesterday we looked at the GWC, the GeoWeb cache. So they have already been sort of cached or whatever. That's why you are able to load them faster. So let us go to our QGIS. So So I'll open the QGIS. Yeah, and if you do not have these browser, let me, maybe I can repeat. You can right click on anywhere here, and then you enable the browser here, browser panel, this browser panel. So we are going to begin with WMS. So I had already added mine, let me just remove it. So I believe that you have our QGIS in front of us. So you remember in the how we were opening the OSM, the OpenStreetMap? You are clicking on XYZ tiles and then you click on OpenStreetMap, okay? So actually open the street map, just double click OpenStreetMap. This is how it looks like. And what I want us to do, I want you to right click on the OpenStreetMap, the one that has loaded in the layers panel, and select properties. Open the properties and click on information. So I would refer you to there's that area that after the information of the file or the layer rather, name, URL, source, CRS, extent, unit. There's an area where it is written property. Do you, under the property column, do you see anything that, you know, like those things that we have looked at today? Do you see there is get capabilities URL, there is get map, there is get feature, get legend, there are even others like get style URL. Yeah, you have seen it. Yeah. So this like the OpenStreetMap is an example of WMS. Okay, it's an example of a WMS. If you are using the get map URL, but it can also be a WFS whereby you are getting the, no, actually it's not a WFS, it is a primarily it's a WMS because the outputs are PNGs. You can see that we have 3 PNGs, yeah, the X and the Y and the Z, okay? Then if you scroll downwards, we have these under server properties. Under tile set properties, we have other properties like title, abstract. You remember we were seeing something like title and abstract when you are loading the full get capabilities. In our first XML, so you are seeing abstract and all that. So whenever, if you may be having your own GeoServer and you're uploading layers, at some point you may have to write some information about those layers, okay? Like you can say these are the buildings of maybe Nairobi. This information has been collected by, Calro, for example, and all that, okay? So that falls under this abstract. Think of it like a title and an abstract of a thesis or a project. So then we have this big information here that has width and height. So we have worked with width and heights. So that should also ring a bell. We have also these, you see if you continue scrolling down, you have something that is titled extent. And under extent, we have the spatial extent. So you have X minimum, Y minimum. So you see the X minimum and Y minimum and X maximum is 180 on both ends, but Y minimum and maximum is 85 and negative 85. So this is what you are talking about, the bounding box, okay? So it gives the coordinates for the bounding box. And yeah, so that is it for this one. So we have been using this OSM for a very long time, which is an example of a WMS. So I would want to know from you guys, would you be interested in working with other WMSs, including something like Google Earth? Would you be interested or not? If not, then you can just proceed to the next step. I would like to show you, you can use other WMSs even to, let's say if you want to digitize your data and all that. In very few steps, I can show you how to load other WMSs in your QGIS. Actually, there are so many WMSs. We're not going to go through each WMSs. I just want to show you a tool that can give you many services, many WMSs that you can display on QGIS. And this question also goes to those who are online. We've been working with OpenStreetMap, but we can also use others. Interested? Do we have people online, or the online community, the remote community is silent? I want to ambush. Are those who are online interested in loading more WMS layers? Hello. Okay. Are we, for those of us who are here, can we do it quickly? Yes. Okay. So I'm assuming you have your QGIS, okay, open. Oh, thank you, Alex and John. So your QGIS should be running. It should be open like mine. And up here, there is the plugins menu. So QGIS plugins are tools that extend the functionality of QGIS, okay? So I would want you to click on plugins and ensure that you are connected to the internet. So you click on plugins and then manage and install plugins. Then it will display this window for the plugins in QGIS, okay? So there's a search bar at the top. Do you see it? Just type QMS. There's a plugin called Quick Map Service or Quick Map Services plugin. QMS. Have you seen it? So click on it and ensure that it is checked. There's a checkbox there. Ensure that it is checked. There's some information that appears here. So you can, if you look at its abstract, it's saying easy. The title is easy to add base maps. So that is its purpose. So you can click install. In my case, I have it already installed. Let me just reinstall it. So you'll see some window like this, and it will pull it to download it fast. Has it completed? Okay. Then you can close this plugin window. And in this, what is it called? In this panel, under web. Can you see the web menu in the menu bar? Click on web, and then there's Quick Map Services. Okay. I'm sure yours does not have all this. Does not have, look at mine, it has so many things. Yours only has about 5 or 10, probably, isn't it? 7. Yeah, so I want for you to be able to display all these. Go to settings. Can you see the settings? Click on it. And then when you click on settings, where is mine? Yeah, it shows this kind of settings. So click on more. There is one tab, which is the last tab, that is titled More Services. Do you see it? Good. Click on it. And then there'll be a button that is, okay, ignore the message here that says attention or whatever. Go to click on Get Contributed Pack. Then I think it will ask you some question. I don't know what it will ask you, but click on yes or something like that. In my case, it is telling me the latest, I have the last version of the Contribute Pack downloaded. Then you can click on Save after it has completed. Has it completed? It may take some seconds. It's still fetching. Yeah, it has completed. Click on Save, then go back to web up here. Click on Save and close that window. click on web, and then you click on quick map services. Do you see an array of so many base maps? I think not all of them work. I think so, but just try and load something else here, like whichever you want. Yeah, there's this one for NESA. Let's see. Earthquake hazard distribution. So if you double click on it, I think it may take some time, but it's going to load. In my case, it has displayed under the OpenStreetMap. I can actually remove the OpenStreetMap. So this is how it looks like. This is a base map for the earthquake. And whichever you have clicked, right click on it and check the properties. And you'll notice that it is a WMS. Okay. So let me open mine. Properties. And you will notice that these under information we have, we have these, and this is a WFS. You'll notice that we have the get capabilities, the things that we have been talking about, discussing about get legend graphic, get map URL. Yeah, so I'll close that. I can open another one. And you'll notice some of them, they may be heavy. So do not open, maybe you can do not open many at once. It may crash your QGIS. So click on quick map services. Let's look at, in my case, I can look at Bing Map. You can remove this other one. Yeah, so in a nutshell, this is what I'm saying. You can work with so many base maps using the quick map services plugin. So, so this is all on the, this is a WMS usage. So many, actually it also tells you that so many organizations are using it. So even the Google map the Google Earth or the Google map that you normally use, maybe on a day-to-day basis, it is based on WMS, okay? Yeah. So let me add a final one. You can even add Google. You see there's Google there, Google Satellite, Google Hybrid. Let me add the Google Hybrid. Remove the Bing map. Bing map, yeah. Does this look familiar? Does it look the same as the Google Earth? The Google Maps we normally see in our browsers? Yeah. So we are using what you call the Quick Map Service plugin to display the web map services. Maybe you can assist him. Yeah, we went to this plugin menu in our QGIS, and then we clicked on manage and install plugins. And then we typed QMS here on the search bar. So it's called the Quick Map Service plugin. It deals with base maps. So one way you can use this base map, you can maybe digitize, let's zoom in. You can digitize somewhere like a road here. You can see we have points of interest, like here we have something called St. Monica Church or something like that. You can see even farmlands somewhere near the Mount Kenya. Yeah. See the way it is, you can use it for various purposes. You can even overlay your layer and change the transparency, maybe to 50%, so that the underlying bit is, it's the base map. Okay. You can see this is Lake Victoria. So if I look at the Google Hybrid, let me look at the properties. You will notice that under information we have it as it is also a whatever, it is a WMS. Okay. Yeah. So I hope that is it's a cool, you find it as a cool plugin because you can load multiple base maps. Okay, so there's another one here that I've added. I don't know whether it will display. I think there could be some of them which are not entirely free. Like this one, I cannot see it. The map box satellite. Yeah, so let us briefly look at actually do not close your QGIS. You can remove your layers, the layers that are there. And from the downloaded data, or the one that we downloaded from the shared folder online, we have point, line, I think, and polygon, isn't it? They're all zipped. Okay. What I would want you to do, I would urge you to add them into QGIS. Yeah, the data that you downloaded from the shared folder contains zip files. Line, point, and polygon, they're in zip. You can actually, for vector layers, you can add them as zipped. They are shape files, they are zipped shape files. You can add them directly into QGIS by dragging and dropping. Have you been able to find them? Point, I think, point, line, and polygon. This is how they look like. Let me just open it in my window here. So under data, we have these ones. They are in line, point, polygon, and raster. Okay, ignore the raster first. Let's work with polygon, point, and line. Have you identified them? So you can just drag and drop them in QGIS. So I'll highlight mine. I'll select line, point, and polygon, and leave the raster. And then when you drag and drop them, QGIS is going to display some window here because those zip files have various. So you'll click on vector. This vector is what you're interested in. There is, in this case, the first one is telling me SLD cookbook line.shp. So just load the .shp only. Click on .shp, and then you click OK. For the line, click on SLD cookbook point. Sorry, click on SLD point cookbook point.shp. And for the polygon, you can click on SLD polygon.shp, cookbook polygon.shp. So you will have a map, something that looks like this. And what you are going to do, you remember what we did with the Africa points and the polygon. The polygon layer has obscured the lines and the points in my case. I don't know how yours looks like, yeah? So just drag this polygon to the last, to be the last item, so that you can be able to see the lines and the points, okay? So in this task, what we are doing, you are creating a QGIS style, okay? You're going to create a style in our QGIS, and then you're going to import that style into GeoServer, okay? You remember the points. I'm sure all of our points in GeoServer, they look like a red dot, isn't it? So that is a default display for points, but you want to change that, okay? So what we are going to do, we have this SLD cookbook point. You can right click on it. Just do a right click, and then you click on properties, okay? So when you right click and click on properties, you remember this window for the one that you are having for symbology, whereby you can edit, you can edit the color and all that. Yeah, so what we are using the data that we downloaded from the downloaded data. We have point, line, and polygon zip files. So those are the ones we have loaded into our QGIS. And then we have right clicked on points, and we have selected properties. So under properties, we have clicked this symbology. Yours may be non-information. You can click on symbology. And in the symbology, what I want us to do, I want us to save, or we can tweak it. So at this point, if you are in this window, feel free to play around with the colors. You can click on the color bar, and then you can change the color to whatever you want to put. You can even use these symbols. Do you notice there are symbols here? Dot black, dot blue, effect. We even have this funny looking symbol. Actually, in my case, I will use this symbol, which looks funny. It looks like an explosion or something like that. So I'll click on that, and then I will apply. So if I click apply, if you configure your symbol here and you click on apply, what happens is that you notice that in the map it changes, okay? So when you are satisfied with your symbol, what you'll do, you'll notice that there's a small drop down here at the bottom of this window titled style. Can you see it? Have you identified it? There's a small button here on the bottom that is written style. So I want us to export this style, okay? So you'll click on it, and there's a load and save. So we'll click save style because we want to save it into some file, okay? So click on save style. Then when you click on save style, it shows a window, it displays a window that looks like this. So what you want to do, you want to save the style as, under save style, we have this drop down. I want you to save it as SLD. I will explain what SLD is. So do not use the QGIS QML style, use SLD, okay? So when you click on SLD, are we there? Somebody who is stuck somewhere? Okay. So we have as SLD style file. Then you will click the browse. There's a browse button here, and save this style in your preferred, folder. I would advise you save it in the same place where we have the zip files, but you can save it somewhere else if you will remember. So let's click on this browse, and it goes to the Explorer. So in my case, I'm going to save it in my training data folder, and I will call it, let me give it a name. Let me call it GS_point, so that I can be able to distinguish it from those others that reside in the geo server. So I've named this GS_point, and I'll click save. And you will notice that just like other windows, the path is now showing, okay? So I will click OK, and it's going to save there. I believe it has now saved into my file system. And if I click here, I can see that I have GS_point. If I go to that particular folder, okay? So if you have already saved your style file, have you saved it? If you are stuck, let me know. So if you have saved it, I want you to right click on the GS_point. You right click and open edit with Notepad, or you can drag and drop it in Notepad++, the one that you installed. Or if you're using VS Code or something else, you can use that. So this is how mine looks like. So what format is it? It is yeah, of course it is an SLD, but I'm saying from the, have you opened it in a Notepad or in Notepad++? From the first line, what is the declaration? Yes, it is also an XML file, okay? And what this XML file does, it consists of colors and, and styles. Okay, actually this one is not a very long one. So we have this color, this is a color, this is a #B, this is a what you call a hexadecimal representation of color, okay? So fine, I just wanted you to look at it, to explore it and look at it. So you can just close it and then go to your geo server, your browser. If you had closed it, just log into geo server. And tell me if you can identify styles menu in the left list of the menus on the left. Do you see styles? Cool, that's good. Click on it. And then now what I want us to do you notice that there are already styles that are there? So these are styles that come with GeoServer. So somebody may ask you why, when you install a new GeoServer and add some point layer there, they are displayed in red dots, like the one we saw in our previous. Somebody could ask you why. Where is this color coming from? It is coming from this, the predefined layers in GeoServer. When you install GeoServer, it comes with this, okay? But you are at liberty to change, because maybe you do not want to represent your points in red. Maybe the thematic element that you are representing with your points is not, it's not supposed to be represented in red, okay? So click add new style. Click on add new style. And this is the window that displays. It says new style, type new style definition and all that. So you can, the mandatory thing that the first thing that you need to add here is name. Let's not put an empty, let's not leave it as empty. So in the name, in this case, I will just name it as GS_point. Okay. GS_point. Then you can also select the workspace, but let us not add the workspace, okay? Let us leave the workspace as blank. If we add a workspace, if we put it in a specific workspace, then you may not be able to edit it, to add it in another, if you decide to create a new workspace, okay? It will be enclosed in this one workspace. So what is the format? The format is SLD, okay? So you can either add it as SLD or zip. That's why I was telling you, if you save it as QGIS QML, then you may not be able to add it in GeoServer. So let's, the format should leave it as SLD. Then you can leave under style content, just leave these ones as default. And there's a button here that shows choose file. Do you see it? Yes, so click on it. Open your file system, wherever you saved the SLD file, you click on it and then you click open. And you'll notice that next to the button you have, okay, it has disappeared. Next to the button you have the name of the file, GS_point. In my case, it's GS_point.sld. Now there is this panel, or there is this text area that is below here. So you remember what we have seen in the contents of the file, XML and all that. So they are going to be displayed here. But how do we display it here? So there's a link written upload. Do you see it with 3 dots? Click on it and GeoServer starts uploading. And you'll notice that it has taken quite a short time. And now in this white part, we have some XML code. If you scroll down, do you see it? Yeah. Okay. So you can also validate. There's a validate button here. That is the next step. So it validates whether this layer or this file is okay. So you click validate, it is showing no validation errors. So let me introduce an error, okay? I'll click somewhere inside here and I add some value like this. I've added these symbols. Let me validate. You notice that it is showing a validation error. So if you try to save or to apply these and it has an error, then it won't save. You need to fix the error so that you can upload, it can upload this style, okay, for use in your GeoServer. So let me remove these this symbol that I added. Then I validate. So we have no validation errors. So if there are no validation errors, you can click on save. And when you click on save, you'll notice that it has added itself somewhere. It should be somewhere here. I have these as GS_point. Do you see it? So if I click my GS_point, this is how it looks like. So now I'm going to go to my, remember this is a point shape file. A point style, sorry. So I'll go to my layers, click on layers in the this left panel. You can click on layers and then you click on the point shape file. You can either use Kenya towns or Africa cities. In this case, let me click on Kenya town. You click on the Kenya town name. Okay, the name, it's a link. So if you click on it, there is somewhere where it is written publishing. We are in the data tab. So you need to click on publishing tab. Are we there? Somebody left behind? So we are together. Good. So under publishing, you will scroll down and you'll notice that there's somewhere where we have under WMS settings, we have layer settings like this here. Do you see the default style for point? In the drop down is titled point. And the symbol here, you can see it is what you are seeing in the cities, Africa cities. So you want to change that. How do we do that? Under this default style, click on the drop down. Under this default style, click on the drop down that has point. And then you can either search your point. Yes, please. Just a step back. Saving the style. After saving the style, it takes you to the styles page. Okay, like this. So do you see the style that you added? Can you see it in the list? You can see it. Okay. So we have successfully saved our style. Okay, we have saved it. Now we want to apply this style to a layer. How do we do that? We click on layers in the left panel, the left side there somewhere. Under data, we have layer preview, what and whatnot. So click on layers. Are you able to identify it? So in the layers, it displays all the layers that we have in our GeoServer. So remember the style that we are working on is a point style file, okay? So identify, there are 2 point layers. One of them is Africa cities, the other one is Kenya towns. So click on whichever, click on the name. So in my case, I will click on Kenya towns. You can use Africa cities. You are at the liberty to use it as well. So I'll click on Kenya towns. And when I click on it, it displays this edit layer page. So in the edit layer page, the active panel is data. It's the one that is written data, labeled data. So we want to click on the other one, which is labeled publishing. Okay. So click on publishing. And when you click on publishing, it changes. You can scroll down, ignore all this information that is up here. You scroll down up to somewhere where there is WMS settings. Under it, we have layer settings. Okay. Are we there yet? And you'll see a point, a dot, a red dot, that is the default point, point symbol for the GeoServer. Are you there? Okay. So click on, under the default style, there is a drop down. So click on that drop down. It will display all the styles that we have. So let me click mine here. So if you have so many styles, the best thing would be to search. This is a search also, it's also a search bar. So in my case, I have my style called GS_point. So I'll just type GS_point and it shows me the GS_point, okay? So if you do not want to search, you can just scroll. If you do not have many of them, just use this scroll bar. Use this scroll bar to scroll up and down, and then you can identify the style that you have just saved. So in this case, mine is GS point. And do you see the symbol that we added in QGIS? Yeah. So you see my symbol here, it looks like that, red splatter or something like that. So after I've clicked on it, I can click on save. There are these buttons here that are floating, save and apply. So you can click on save. And when you click on save, it will return you to the layer. Have you saved your style? Yeah. Have you saved your style? Awesome. So this is what you're going to do. We are going to click on the layer that you have changed the style. Sorry, go to preview. Under data, click on layer preview. We want to preview the style, the layer that we have created. So in this case, I was customizing, or I changed the style for Kenya Town. So I'll just click open layers. This is open layers link here. So do you see how mine looks like? It has changed from those red dots to this one. Okay. Has yours done any, are there any changes or not? Yeah. So I would want you to, do you think you can customize for the line? Step 1, QGIS. Go to your line layer, right click, go to properties, symbology, play around with the color value, thickness also, and check the thickness or the line stroke. Whether you want a dotted line, you know, if you want a blue line, a red line, or whatever, then you add it, you set it up. Then after setting it up, you save it. There's a layer button. There's a style button in that properties window, a small one at the bottom. You click on it, then you click on save style. Then when you save style, you save it somewhere where you save it as an SLD, don't forget. And then you click browse, and then you browse to wherever you are saving your layer, your style. Then when you save it, you can now open your server, go to style. Then after you go to style, you give the style, your style a name. And then after you give your style a name, you select the browse, you scroll down and click browse. You browse to wherever you saved your layer in SLD. Then after clicking your style file, you click on upload. Then when you click on upload, it will display that XML or the code for that style in the text panel below. If you're satisfied with how it looks like, then you can, because it will also show a preview. If you're satisfied with how it looks like, then you can apply. Then after that, you can do a layer preview. I will also invite you to do the same for the polygon. And please, for your interactivity, you share what, if you have a good, if you believe you have an output, you can screenshot it and share with us. And one thing that you should ensure that you don't set a style for lining. You know, you set SLD for a polygon into a line. Okay, do not alternate that. What I mean is that I'm sure you're saving a line style and a polygon style. So if you go to GeoServer and load a polygon style for a line, then the output may not be very nice. Okay. So take note of that. Okay, so let me also do it on my side here. So I have this line. I'll click on properties. Then I will play around with this simple line. I can use this thing called effect emboss. You can even work with these styles here. Do not limit yourself. So I'll click effect emboss, and I'll also change the width probably to something like 1. Enter. I can change my color. So if you click the color, it shows this color wheel. I can set somewhere dark red, so darker shade of red. And I click OK. And then what I'll do, I'll click on style. I save style as a QML, as a SLD. I'll call it line, GS line. Enter, then I'll click OK. Then I'll navigate to my geo server. I go to styles. Then I click on add new style. Then I'll give my style a name, which is GS line. And then I will choose the file, gsline.sld. Then I'll click upload. When it has uploaded, it will show my XML here. I will do a validation, which is very important. And I'll click on save. Then I will go to my layer. I'll identify, I only have one line layer, which is GHA roads. I'll go to publishing. Then I click on GS line. And then I can click on apply or save. Then I go to my layer preview. If I preview my GHA roads, this is how my roads look like after adding the new style. Okay, this is how they look like. Then I'll do the same for the polygon. Let's close that. So I'll go back to my QGIS. I can close this. I select the polygon, I right click, properties. Then for the polygon, I can even add a pattern overlay. There are patterns down here. So I can play around with them. Let me click on this hashed pattern. Maybe I can change the color to something else. Use this color. Okay, then I click OK. So it will be looking like this. This is the preview. Then I will save the style, save style, save as SLD up here. It should always be SLD. Then I click on browse. Then I save it as GS poly SLD. GS underscore poly. And I save and I click OK. And I also click apply here. Oh no, I've already saved my style, so I'll go to GeoServer. I click on style, then I click on add new style. Then I'll name my style, so I can call it GS underscore poly or whatever. Then I will click on choose file. Then I will go to GS poly file and click on it. And then I'll upload. Then after it has uploaded, this is how it looks like. It's also short. So I'll click on validate. There are no validation errors, and then I'll click on save. Then I'll go to my layers. And then since this is a polygon, I will identify a polygon shapefile. I'll use Kenya constituencies. I click on publishing. Then after clicking on publishing, I try and identify where there is a style. So this is a default for polygon. It is normally a shade of gray inside and an outline of black. So I'll just click on this drop down and I'll select GS poly. And you'll notice that the preview here has also changed. And then I'll click on save. So I can go to my layer preview and then I click on Kenya counties or constituencies. So this is how they look like. You notice that they have changed. They have changed the color. So I've been able to change my styles. So for those maybe who are left behind, what I can do, I will share these styles with you, the ones that I've just created, so that you can add into your GeoServer directly without any challenges. So I've shared the styles in the charts. The GS line, GS point, and GS poly. Awesome. Thank you, Fantas. Have a cool map. Yeah, so one of our colleagues has been able to do it. Yeah, so this is how theirs look like. They have been able to style the Kenya. The Kenya has it has that, yes, it has a pattern overlay. Pardon? Oh, this one. Oh, okay. Let us zoom in because of that. Yeah, you'll notice that there are some lines here. Yeah, these are the constituencies. Anyway, somebody cannot notice the lines, but at least what we are, our main agenda here is to understand how to style the layers inside GeoServer. So this one is an example of the interoperability of GeoServer and QGIS, using them together, interoperable. QGIS, you design styles there, you upload them in GeoServer, you style your layers, okay? So that is an example of the interoperability. So the other thing that we are going to do now, thank you for sharing the screenshot. Another thing that we are going to do now is we will briefly go back to the slides. And then, yeah, let's check on SLD. So the SLD stands for Styled Layer Descriptor. So we created the styles and saved them in .sld. So what is SLD? SLD is a styled layer descriptor, and it is an OGC, Open Geospatial Consortium standard for styling geospatial data, okay? Like we have done. And then it is available in GeoServer by default. You remember where we have opened our style, we saw that the active dropdown was titled SLD, and then the secondary or the other item is the zip. So by the fact that it is titled SLD there, it shows that it is that's what is available in GeoServer by default. And then we have this link. You can refer to the docs.geoserver.org for more on styling. There's a lot you can do with the styles. There are even styles for 3-dimension. Yeah, so you can check them out. Then, yeah, we were able to open the layers, the shared layers styles in QGIS. We were able to open the style manager or the symbology property window. We were able to design the style and export to SLD, and then we were able to import style in GeoServer and apply this style to the layers, as we have seen in one of our colleagues' screenshot. So yeah, so these are just the steps. You're opening the line, point, and polygon, loading the layers, and then using these to create our style files. And then we have also seen something like this, the color wheel, some cases, and then yeah, this screenshot summarizes the procedures that we have just done. And the output is this. Whoever has displayed the Kenya, you'll notice that the Kenya, the one that I've shown on the screenshot, has a similar pattern with this, okay? Yeah, so now we are going to look at open layers, and for starters, open layers can be referred to as a JavaScript library framework that is used for mapping. And open layers makes it easy to put a dynamic map in a web page, okay? So that is, think of it as it's a library that in which you can be able to create a map and share whatever you are sharing. Okay, share something through the internet, and it is also adopted by most organizations, and in most of the open source projects that GIS projects or mapping projects that you may meet around globally, you find that people are using these open layers. Okay. And then finally, it is an open source mapping tool. Okay, it is purely open source, so you can take the open layers, customize it, maybe for to serve the needs of maybe your organization, your department, or your community. If you have an online community of sorts. So yeah, so those are some of the properties of the open layers. So this is a screenshot of the open layers that I had opened in my computer, and you'll notice that one thing is that it is fetching this layer from the Geo server, and you'll notice that on the top left we have a plus and minus button that you normally see in so many maps, a zoom in and a zoom out icon. Okay, so by default the open layers looks like it does not have this Kenya. This Kenya I tweaked it to load a layer from through WMS. However, a plain open layers map has the base map, which is the OSM, but you can change to some other base map. And it also has the zoom in and zoom out icons. Sorry. Yeah, so you can check to learn more on open layers, because open layers, as compared to, there's some other library called Leaflet.js or Leaflet JavaScript. Open layers has a steeper learning curve, so it may take you some time. So the best way would be to go and visit openlayers.org, and look at the examples that are there. You can even look at how to quickly create a map. Okay, so that what you're going to do is that you're going to create a simple map, but you're going to use the reference from openlayers.org. So you can check it there if you want to create your own map and customize it. So we will, yeah, so this is the same URL for the documentation. Yeah, so allow me to go back to my machine. Yeah, so a few moments. So do you still have your notepad open, or notepad++? So I will want you to copy and paste something, but just give me a moment, I will show you. Yeah, so there is a code that I would want you to let me share it as a file to save on time. So I'll click on Control N. And then I will change some coordinates there. I will save it as index.html. Yeah, so let me share this file in the chat. Yeah, so you can download the file and try and open it. See what it's going to show anything or not. Actually, it has a problem somewhere. Let me see. Okay, so I'm resharing the file briefly. So just use the second file. The first file has a problem. So if you open your file, you're going to see something like, tell me if you're seeing something like this. If you open the index.html. You should open it in your browser, whichever browser. Do you see that? Okay. While it's still running, could you open that index? Go to the index file that you have downloaded, right click, open with the Notepad++ or with an editor, whichever you have, is VS Code or whichever. So let me open mine. Actually, mine, I had already opened it. So this is what is loading this code is this is a HTML code that is loading your file, okay? If you look at from here, we have somewhere where we have something that we can relate to. We have something written height and width. So you can try and play around with the values. Do not put enormous values like 10,000. These are pixels. So maybe you can put yours to probably 900 pixels. And then you save. You press Control and S together. Yeah, you can do that as for starters. Then if you save, then you can. You'll notice my map has changed. It was small. It was shrinking, but it was shrunk. But now it displays on the whole page. Okay. So I can also change. There's something else that I would want you to change. You see this zoom. You remember in our previous session we talked about zoom levels. You remember when you were generating the tiles using the GWC, the Geo Web Cache. So our current map as it displays, it is on zoom level 4. Can you change it to something like 8 in our notepad? And don't forget to save. Press Control S to save. Then you go to your browser and refresh. You can just refresh and you'll see the change. So I think I'll put mine here side by side so that everyone can see. So I'll change my zoom level from 4 to 8. Then I save. After saving, I'll refresh. Note what happens to my map when I click refresh. I'm actually in. I can see Addis Ababa in my map. Then if it was 4, let me put it to 2 and save. And then I refresh. Come here and refresh. You see, I'm seeing the whole, probably the northern hemisphere. Yeah. So yeah, so this is basically what we have displayed. We have displayed whatever base map for OSM. Let's see. As a final step, something else you're gonna try here. On the layers. sure if it will work. Let's see. So I'm trying to see if I can add some layer from my geo server. Yeah, that one might take some time. So basically, let's just stick to adjusting the zoom levels. And if you adjust the zoom, could you try a high zoom level like what, like 15, and we see what happens. Can try zoom level 15. Let me change mine from 2 to 15 and save. And I do a refresh. Yeah, you notice that it has zoomed in more. Yeah, we are in somewhere in the, I think this is a forest, or I don't know what it is. So this is what happens every time you click on a web map and zoom out. You see, when you continue zooming out, this you are increasing the zoom level. Okay, the zoom level is increasing. So this is increasing the zoom level, zooming out. But zooming in decreases the zoom level. That's why if your zoom level is 1 or 2 or 4, you are seeing a very small, a very big area that is zoomed in. But when you adjust it and put something like 15, then you notice that it is showing the entire area. Okay. Yeah, so this is we have just touched a little on the open layers, but you can feel free to refer to the documentation. You'll get so many things, so many cool stuff. And I think, let me just show you. Yeah, so if you look at these, they have some examples. You can add, I think, some customized controls. Look at this map. It is tilted. Yeah. Do you see? And I think you can, I'm not sure what this does. Yeah. See, it returns it to normal. Then it has an end button here. Yeah. Then you can check on another. There are so many examples you can customize. But for you to do this, this is especially for those who are maybe doing some web HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all that. The ones who are doing JavaScript, you can be able to customize. Like now, what I was trying to customize the map to load my GeoServer layer. And I think I actually have the link. Let me just click on the link. Yeah, this is the link of I was able to add customize this layer from GeoServer. And the code that I was using is this one here. I've added a new tiled layer that points to my GeoServer, and I've added the name of the GeoServer and specified whether it is tiled. And of course, I've specified the server type. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So yeah, so I think this brings us to our conclusion. Unless anyone who has a question. Yes, please. You cannot see the OSM base map in the open layers. The browser. Or the index.html. I sent 2. So you're using the second one. You cannot see. This is what you're going to do. Let me show you. If you have an error, it's basically it's supposed to show something like this. Yeah. So if you have an error, this is what you're gonna do. Could you right click anywhere on your browser and click on inspect? There's an option that is titled inspect. Then you click on, it shows this kind of a window that looks complicated. Up there are tabs. Click on console. Do you see console? Is there an error? There should be an error. Something things in red. So what is it saying? Yeah, look at that line 27, because I believe the others have been able to load, isn't? Have you edited that file? If you have edited it in Notepad, probably there's something you have added, like a comma or a bracket. It's JavaScript, so it's just like any other programming. If you add something, a comma has a very big impact. So just check your Notepad. It's saying line what? 27. So this line, the line that you have added the code, the center coordinates is the one that has a problem. This one. Confirm that the brackets and these brackets cover the square brackets. And there's a comma between those coordinates, the first coordinate and the second coordinate. And there's also a comma at the end. Could you? Okay. Because if you have edited it, just use the original one or compare with the original one. Because I believe it's working for the rest of us. So yeah, so you can refer to these links, and I believe there are no any other questions, so we can call it a day. And I hope that you have been able to learn something today. And I also hope that today the flow has been a bit lighter than the previous days. Yeah. So yeah, so I would like to thank you for your participation as well. It has been an interactive session, and we'll meet again tomorrow for another session. So I would like to wish you a good time and also a good night. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on the chats on WhatsApp. So this brings us to the end of our today's session.